Are we having some problems?
No, they are hooking you in.
I think there's so many people who've joined Digital. Huh?
Yes. So
See,
need to remove them.
you drop people. Ask them to join through the social media platforms, not the Zoom link. I think this link was shared in a group or something.
Yes.
Yes. This link is meant for only 2 people.
Very true.
Abdullah, have you deleted from the rest of the groups?
Yes, yes. We only have, now we are okay. Now there's only, now we are okay. We are only 4.
So we need to see Abdi Osman and we're comfortable.
Yes, Abdi Osman.
Kenya yote waxaan rabnaa dadkeeda waddanka Kenya ku nool na Afrikada kala madaxda ka imaanaysa inaan ku soo dhaweyn Wajeer Madaraka inaan ku soo dhaweyn aan ku soo dhaweyn Wajeer madaxweynayaasha kulli ka imaana Afrika Wajeer aan lagu soo dhaweynaa waa madaxtooyada Afrika Wajeer madaxtooyada Afrika waa Wajeer
Madaraka Day inashikiliwa hapo Wajir ni muhimu sana, tunafurahia sana kupata anatufanyia Madaraka Day hapo, kwamba namwambia wenye wanatoka huko Juda Kenya, namwambia Wajir ni safe. Welcome to Wajir.
Hii ndo mzuri, stadium imefanya vizuri katika 63 years hatujapata stadium kama hii, na hii ni maendeleo ya kwamba Wajir ni mahali mzuri sana. Sasa hatujapata wakati ya Uhuru wala Moi Kibaki wala Moi wala Kenyatta, hatujapata hii maendeleo imeleta Ruto.
Hapo stadium ndio inashine vizuri, tumekuwa na maendeleo vizuri, na sasa tunamshukuru Rais Ruto.
Maendeleo amejenga hospitali, barabara, shule, kila mahali amejenga yeye. Security iko tight, Wajir iko tight.
Mambo ya security hapa iko safe. Kupita hapa tu Wajir lazima hapa town ni safe. Na tunaona hata wao mwenyewe barabara imejengwa, kila kitu, hata usiona biashara vinaendelea. Ni hivyo tu.
Waxaan dhahayaa dadkan oo waddan kale ka imaadeen oo Soomaaliya ahaato, waddanka Nairobi ahaato, Eldoret ahaato, waddan kale ka soo baxaan dhahaa ku soo dhawaada Wajir. Waa dhulkii labaad, waa dhulkii hooyo. Ku soo dhawaada Wajir waa safe aan dhahaa. Hadda afbooranu ku dhahanaa waxaan dhahaa warri oliga dhufkun itiga dhiyaada laftutun teesani war marsabitiga dhuf war Nairobiga dhuf war Kilifiga dhuf lafteesani gadhiyaada aan dhahaa.
Earlier, we had an interview with the Horn of Africa Gateway Development Project individuals who were telling us, where the tarmac road has reached. Remember that tarmac road is supposed to link Isiolo all the way to Mandera. What a time to be alive as a northern Kenyan person. But at the same time, we are still going on with our discussion. Earlier, we had the discussion around infrastructure, and now we are talking about an equally very important topic of discussion, and we hope the President is going to touch on it tomorrow in his 63rd Madaraka Day celebration. And the topic that we're going to discuss is about education, strengthening education outcomes in northeastern Kenya. And I'm not going to do that alone. I have an able panel here physically, and there are those who are going to join us virtually. Here physically, we have a very familiar face as far as Wajir is concerned. He's none other than Abdi Bilo. Assalamu alaikum, Abdi.
Waalaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Karibu sana Mjomba. He's a peace builder and community development practitioner here in Wajir. And then on my far right, we have Hassan Dirie from Horn of Africa. He's the executive director at the Horn Africa Center for Policy Analysis. Karibu sana Hassan.
Thank you so much, Yusuf.
Joining us virtually all the way from Kenya's capital, Nairobi, is a son of Wajir. He's been a teacher. We have seen him, his footprints online, especially on matters education. He's none other than Abdullahi Ma'allim, who is an education sector lead from the Frontier Counties Development Council, FCDC. And joining alongside him online is Abdi Osman, who is from Nakonek. Welcome, gentlemen, online. I'm sure there's a bit of delay as we continue trying to get hold of them. So just a small introduction on our topic of discussion tonight. Now, Northern Kenya continues to face some of the most persistent education challenges in Kenya. And that is a matter of fact. While Kenya has made substantial progress in expanding access to education and achieving near universal transition from primary to secondary education nationally, many learners in Northern Kenya continue to face barriers related to poverty, nomadic lifestyle, insecurity, inadequate infrastructure, teacher shortage, long distance to school, and socio-cultural challenges. So, nationally, the primary to secondary transition rate has risen to above 87%. That's a very good number. However, education, participation, and progression rates in northeastern region remain significantly below national target. The question is, why? If you look at the performance, they don't look very well, although we've seen some sort of improvement in the last few years. Just to put this conversation into context for us now, let me start with Hassan Dirie, who's from Horn of Africa. And Hassan, I'm sure you're doing something interesting as far as finding solutions to this poor transition and everything is concerned, but we can never do that until we do proper research. Can you just give us the highlight of your study?
Thank you so much, Yusuf, for giving me the opportunity. As you have rightly said, the Horn Africa Center for Policy Analysis, which is a regional policy think tank, together with partners, including the FCDC, and a number of other stakeholders, are currently undertaking research on the state of education in the region, in northeastern Kenya. We have finalized the research and we are almost through with the analysis. Preliminary results and indications are showing that the region is facing quite a number of challenges and there are realities on the ground that are actually pointing the challenges that you have talked about initially and that are also in the public domain. It is in the public domain that northeastern Kenya is low below the national average in terms of enrollment, in terms of transition from primary to secondary and from secondary to university. Nationally, as you have rightly said, the national enrollment rate at the primary level in the country currently is about 100%. 90-something% going to 100% in some of the counties. And that is, of course, driven by the very aggressive government policy of 100% enrollment policy. But that as it may, data show that in the northeastern Kenya, in the region of Kenya, that particular figure is very, very low as compared to the national. As low as less than 50% in some of the counties in northern Kenya. And in terms of transition from secondary to, from primary to secondary, the national average rate is around 80% to 87% there, depending, of course, with the different. But the average is about 80%. It's as low as 25% or 30% in our region. And nationally, the transition rate from secondary to university is nationally very low. Data put it at around 30%. In northeastern Kenya, very, very low. So we have gone and undertaken this particular research. We have carried out this particular research in about 170 schools, including junior, primary, and secondary schools in Garissa, Wajir, and Mandera. And we have spoken to the head teachers and assessed the learning infrastructure and the quality of the teachers in terms of training that we have there, digital infrastructure availability. We have looked at all this, and our data is showing that in almost all the schools that we have talked to and we have visited, where we have collected the data, and critical resources and infrastructure, including what I have now talked about, are lacking in most of the schools. And no wonder then that we have the existence of that particular sorry state that we have just painted. Of course, this particular study will be presented in the upcoming summit, which I'm going to talk about it later. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Of course, we are all looking forward to that summit that will be held in Wajir. Let me now hand it over to Abdullahi Maalim, who is in Nairobi from FCDC. Abdullahi, if you could hear me, we've heard Hassan talking about that huge disparity when it comes to transition from primary to secondary school. The rest of Kenya is about 87% going upwards. In northern Kenya, it's maybe around 50. Maybe the study is going to give us a concrete kind of data. So what do you think should be done to reduce that gap? Because at the moment, it's a huge yawning gap. Abdullah, if you could hear me. Okay, as we try and fix the voice of Abdullah there, let me now just engage Abdi Bilo, who is with me here. At least we're with him in Wajir. So Abdi Bilo, you've had the huge gap. There are issues to do with the teacher shortage. I'm sure you're part and parcel of that. You've seen firsthand what it means to have teacher shortage. So in terms of investment, what do you think needs to be done to make sure that at least we reduce that gap between northern Kenya and the rest of the country?
Thank you, Yusuf. The question is well placed, and we know we have been having a crisis in terms of education in this region from the time of independence and even before, during the colonial time and even after independence. One is because of attitude. Our people believe that taking children to school is just like Christianity. You know, our people tend to put more focus on pastoralism livelihood, and they would prefer their kids herding livestock. And then there was also that policy of locking out people from urban centers and regarding them the pastoralists. That's why we have the 4 Mile Square. You know, the town which had schools was meant for very few people, and the other people are regarded as pastoralists. So that was colonial time, and we really inherited that. We have been having issues with the insecurity that has also contributed to the exodus of teachers from this region. And also the attitude that we have by our locals also of not joining the teaching profession because of low pay and all that. And we have also a lot of mushrooming infrastructure, settlements that are coming up, making investment in education very difficult. Because if you look today, most, other than the basic education, the ECD and all that, the other ones are national government function. Other than TVET and the ECD, the rest, secondary schools, primary schools, are the role of the national government. And they are being funded by the CDF to put such an infrastructure. So you can imagine 100 million which the CDF gets to fund infrastructure in over 100 settlements in a given constituency. If I may talk of Wajir South, which is vast, and so many schools are mushrooming day in, day out, it becomes a challenge really to invest in education with the little contribution from the national government other than the CDF itself. In terms of teachers also, there was that attitude by our people of not joining the teachers, but right now I'm happy to say that we are getting so many teachers.
Yes.
So many of them have embraced the teaching colleges, and we have graduates at least so many. So we do not fear even right now if we get the exodus of non-local teachers. We are sure we will be able to replace them as soon as they leave.
And it's good to see the numerous teachers training colleges that are coming up.
Yeah.
So we're going to come back to when it comes to peace, because peace, education, they always go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So let me go back to Abdullahi, and I'm told you should at least unmute yourself together with Abdi Osman. Either of you can jump into this question. Abdullahi, especially you, because you're part of the Frontier Counties Development Council, FCDC. For those who don't know, this is an economic bloc that is in charge of more than 10 different countries, especially countries in the ASALs. So Abdullahi, as you unmute yourself, what are some of the key investments you think the counties should bring in on matters of education? I know it's only ECD that is a devolved function, but ECD is also equally important. Make us appreciate how important it is as a foundation in education. Abdullahi, unmute. Try and unmute yourself. I can see you, but just try and unmute. Okay. Abdi, can you hear me? Abdi Osman, Nakonek? Okay, I think we have a bit of a technical hitch. It's normal, it happens. So, Dere, I think you can jump into it because you've engaged FCDC as a stakeholder when it comes to the survey that you're doing, the study that you're doing. Can you tell us maybe some of the investment that the counties need to do, especially at the ECD level?
Excellent. I will talk about that, but before I do that, I just also wanted to mention that from the study that we have conducted, two things that really are coming up very, very strongly is the issue of the region's preparedness for the CBC curriculum. And the CBC curriculum is a resource-heavy curriculum. It is community engagement-heavy curriculum. And we are sorry to say that from the study now we have collected is that the region is doing very, very badly there, because investment in digital learning infrastructure is very low in almost all the schools. And we've talked to the teachers and the parents, the head teachers and the parents associations, and in almost all the schools, there are no good representative of alumni associations. I mean, people who have studied or went through that particular school have not really come back. So engagement is a bit low. So that particular issue of CBC preparedness is a bit really worrying. It's something that some activity must take place. But alongside that one, another issue that passionately come about also is the issue of exam malpractices. And so many people we have talked to are really worried about the state of affairs, and not comfortable in what is going on. And clearly there is rampant examination cheating at the national examination.
How bad is it? How bad is it? Because there are those, I've had reports that there are those who've gone ahead, they've gotten good grades at the high school level, then they transition to university, get into serious subject matters like medicine, and then they don't get the ability to clear. How bad is the situation?
From the focus group discussions that we have had with our informants, really the situation is really, really worrying, because almost every household, they talk about a kid or two that have completed high school, came out with very good grades, and have nothing to do about it, or nothing to do with it right now. They have either dropped out from university, or they have refused to go to university because they know their capacity. So this is a common story, and is really, really sad. Of course, now I will come to the issue of what can we do. So it's not only for the county government to do something about it, really. What is required is, I think, broad-based dialogue and conversation must take place, because education by its very nature is multi-stakeholder sector. So the national government, the county government, the community members, and even the development partners that are out there, I think must come together to dialogue and to discuss these particular issues, so that we can come up with evidence-informed decisions about it. And that is the reason why now we are holding the summit that is coming in
We're going to
August.
talk about the summit. I really
Yes,
want the summit to be the
exactly.
last thing that we're going to discuss.
But
Yes.
maybe to zoom in on the county government that we're talking about.
Uh-huh.
Of course, county government's mandate is restricted to ECD.
Yes.
Exactly. And actually, that is where it matters a lot. So if the county government can put in enough infrastructure, particularly digital labs and digital infrastructure at the ECD level, I think they would be giving the children a good foundation from which now they can develop.
And I think that is exactly what FCDC and their partners, together
Yeah.
with the likes of your organizations, are doing. Raspberry and everything. I've seen the activities online. What FCDC is currently doing, and I hope we can get Abdullahi production. You'll alert me once he's audible. At least I could see his video, but we couldn't get his voice. So Abdipilo, let's talk about the peace side of it. Education is key, yes, but without peace, then we're not going to have teachers basically in place. Children will not be able to access their school. So talk to us about the plans you have in line with the Wajir Peace University.
Thank you, Yusuf. I think I said during the conflicts of early 90s and even before, the conflicts affected so many sectors of our life, including education, including the health, including other developmental opportunities. During these conflicts, so many schools were closed. So many teachers fled, you know, and in Wajir, sometimes back even before the conflict, you know, teachers were taken to different areas. You could see somebody from South going to Wajir North to work there, somebody from Wajir South going to West, from East going to South, from, you know, and all that. And then education was very beautiful those days. But the conflict affected people, you know. You could see Dugudia not be able to go to South or not be able to go to North and vice versa and so on. But after the peace efforts, we decided to localize the education, and everybody was just told to go feel free at home. To some extent, it has contributed to positive growth of education because these teachers are working from home. And in other aspects also, it has negatively impacted on education because some of them cannot be punished or whatever because they have become local committees. Peace, I mean, that's why I say peace is a prerequisite for all development, and it is peace and development go hand in hand. And education, you know, is very important. In Wajir Peace and Development, we started what's called peace education in the 90s in all schools. I think to inculcate that culture of peace in the young minds, to remove the stereotypes, the prejudice, and the bias in them. So we had that program. That was later on nurtured to become Wajir Peace University. We had an institution called Center for Peace and Research, which was precursor of the Peace University. The Peace University Trust is there right now. I'm sure they have got they have gotten the title lead for the land, and they are raising and mobilizing resources for the establishment of the Peace University. Why do we say the Peace University? You know, initially, so many institutions from America, Europe, and all that were coming to Wajir to learn the best practices of peace in Wajir County. And we said, why should people travel all the way from America, Britain, and all that to come and learn? why don't we have a university of us which can accommodate those students to learn? You know, the Wajir case is taught in many universities. In Eastern Mennonite University, in Bradford University, in Coventry University, and so many other universities that I know. They teach they use the Wajir case study as an example. So we've opted to put more focus on the Peace University so that we're able to export our peace through education.
Excellent, excellent. I think by now we have Abdullah with us. Abdullah, if you could hear me. Do we have Abdullah with us? Abdullah, FCDC, can you hear me? I can see you.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me also?
Yes, I think there's something not right to the voice. Can you give him a chance a little bit? Somebody, let's try.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, as we try and sort that again, let's talk about the Regional Education Summit in Wajir. I know you're going to launch the report then. Maybe you can just give us a sneak preview of who the key stakeholders are that you're looking forward to, and maybe some of the recommendations of the survey that you are working on.
Thank you so much. Of course, the stakeholders, as I initially alluded to, are multi-stakeholders. But before now I talk about that, I really want to give a background of how this particular summit came about as an idea. So some like 3 months ago, and we gathered a number of stakeholders in the education sector, people from northern Kenya, comprising of political leaders and academicians, educationists, Ministry of Education officials, education entrepreneurs, youth, and women representatives, and a number of stakeholders really that we felt were very, very critical. So we brought together these particular stakeholders, and we said, of course, at that particular time, we presented desktop study of the education challenges in the country. So 2 things came from that particular stakeholder meeting. And the 2 things was first of all to conduct a region-wide empirical study on the state of education in the region. And then number 2, that now should culminate and be presented in a regional education summit to be held in Wajir. And so we are hoping and planning right now to hold that particular summit in the month of August in Wajir. We are thinking of bringing together stakeholders, and about 500 to 600 stakeholders, and brought together from the different partners or people who actually are interested in the education sector. So this could be community elders, religious leaders, and political leaders, educational experts, and ministry officials, county government officials, and development partners, and even the private sector that are involved in education matters. So we are looking at multi-stakeholder gathering that really would come together. And of course, in that particular platform, we will present the findings of the study. But then what we now hope to come out from that particular summit is at least no more talk. At that particular time, the challenges of education in the region shall be known. They will be in the public domain. So therefore, what we'll be looking to is action. And action that is measurable, time-bound, and of course that have mechanisms of evaluating and ensuring that it is done. So from where we sit now, what we want, what we are looking at, particularly to come out, is for all the challenges that we have established from the study, at least measurable and impactful and evidence-driven commitments and measures must come up. On the issue of CBC preparedness, we want to see a system that really will give parity or will enhance parity between education in Northeastern and education in the rest of the country. We want to see commitments from the national government and even the county governments regarding investments in education infrastructure. We want to see commitment from the community members in terms of their support and commitment towards enhancing positive education outcome in the region. So we want to achieve some set of commitments that are measurable and agreed upon that will be implemented in a certain time frame and that is really agreed upon by all the stakeholders. So
Excellent.
that for us will be a success for the summit.
Excellent. We're all looking forward to that summit. Below, before I come to you, there's a question online here for Hassan. They're asking what policy reforms are needed to ensure equitable allocation of education resources to frontier counties. What policy reforms are needed to ensure equitable allocation of education resources to frontier counties? I'm sure this is part and parcel of the survey.
Exactly. So I think first and foremost,
Hello.
Northeastern has lagged behind for a long time, not only education but in all aspects of developments. And we have talked about affirmative action for a long time. And I think a policy that has to be strengthened by the government of the day is that issue of affirmative action. And it only makes sense that certain particular policies should be put in place to ensure that regions that have lagged behind the rest, their development should be sped up. So I think one policy could be that particular one. And of course, in the summit we're bringing together stakeholders really that are experts in education matters and that are affected by the education challenges. So a number of recommendations will come from the summit itself. But part of the function and the deliverables of the study that we are currently working on is also to issue policy briefs to give policy recommendations to the governments to implement. So at that particular time, I think they will be known.
Excellent.
Thank
The below, we try and get hold somebody. Do we have the Abdullah online? Excellent. I think we have Abdullah. Finally, FCDC man. Abdullah, can you hear me? And
Hello.
please go ahead and tell us some of the investments you've made as FCDC. We normally see your activities online as far as digitization, ECD development is concerned. Just bring our viewers up to speed on some of the activities that
Thank
you've
you
been
so
undertaking.
much, and I'm sorry for the hitches. That is what technology is all about. But then I want to begin with the last question that was asked by one of the panelists regarding what policy reforms do we put in place. There are a lot of affirmative actions in our constitution. This proactive constitution had some affirmative actions, including an affirmative action to make sure the marginalized communities are taken care of. An issue to do with the setting up of NACONEC is part of that affirmative action. The issues to do with the equalization fund, which is under Article 204 of the Constitution of Kenya. All these are meant to equalize and provide opportunities for those areas that have lagged behind to get these opportunities. There is also one article, I can't remember exactly where it is, that was meant to address the past injustices in terms of lagging behind in education. So it's not an issue of lacking opportunities as provided in the Constitution or other very proactive regulations, but it's about implementing what is there. If NACONEC is properly funded, if the programs that are meant to strengthen affirmative provisions are given the necessary funding, we will have gone far. And I want to begin by just first of all saying that does not mean the government of Kenya and the counties are not putting a lot of efforts in education. a lot of effort has been done in terms of education by the two levels of the government. If you look at, for instance, in terms of putting up infrastructure, it is not the county's responsibilities to put up primary schools, but then our children are not segregated. Our children are neither national nor county. They are neither devolved or non-devolved. So be it when it comes to services. And one important thing we need to consider is the demographic factor in our discussions. The youth and the children form the biggest percentage of the population in our country. And if we invest in them very well, we can be sure we will really be triggering the engine for development. It is because of that very reason we do not need to debate so much on whether these are default function or a non-default function. And going by that, the counties have really made some kind of arrangements under intergovernmental collaborations to at least agree on some aspects so that they can take some of these functions that they feel they can do better. A good example is bursary for paying the school fees of children in secondary and college schools or institutions. It is not the county's responsibility, but then the counties and the national government sat, and it was felt we cannot divorce each of these parties from funding or providing these opportunities. A very good example is the Elimu Mashinani of Mandera, where they have made sure no child in secondary schools in Mandera will be chased because of fees. They were able to support, they're able to pay these fees, and all the things are running very well. I want just to maybe highlight a little bit on our journey to at least make sure we provide opportunities for our people. One of it being trying to strengthen the ECD systems. When I'm talking about the ECD system, we are talking about the nurturing care framework. We are talking about the thinking ECD or the early childhood development in a holistic approach, where we are talking about the World Bank recommended nurturing care framework, where we are talking about good learning, good shelter, protection, issues to do with nutrition, issues to do with good health for these children. As a result, we are bringing all stakeholders together to make sure all the things that can make the child to move well and thrive better is being provided. As a result, with the support of our 10 county governments, we were able to conduct a baseline study where we highlighted what are these very critical issues that are really underwhelming the performances of ECD in our 10 counties. From that baseline survey, we were able to do a kind of a strategic plan, which is there for the entire region to use. And all these are just adding up together. The biggest problem still we have is we can never equalize 63 years of underperformance. The affirmative actions must be very fast. They must not have sunset period. Like we are aware, the 20-year clause is coming to an end. And we were to remove that sunset clause to make sure at least issues of equalization can continue. So we need to provide more resources, more opportunities, and more window period.
Yes, Abdullah, and I think that explains why we don't have the so-called national schools in this region. Most of them are concentrated in what we normally call down Kenya. And there's one line that stuck with me that you just mentioned, that our children are neither national or county. And I'd like to add that our children are neither northeastern or the rest of Kenya. We are all Kenyans. So is it something that crossed your mind when we were being told that, you know, show us your schools, show us the investments you've made? You remember, I think you remember those criticisms. As you speak to that, tomorrow is Madaraka Day, and one of the theme, actually the theme is on education. What is your expectations from the president's speech?
I want to be very optimistic from the word go. And it is very important now that the Madaraka Day is being now marked and the president is addressing the country from Wajir. It is strategic and it is intentional because we are underperforming in all metrics of education. So I expect the president to highlight more on issues to do with the out of school children. We have almost the 10 counties that provide the biggest burden of children out of school. All of them almost are coming from the frontier counties, with Mandera, Wajir, Turkana, and other counties leading the train. So I expect issues to do with enrollment drives, issues to provide some kind of very strategic interventions to make sure children out of school are returned to school. And we had a policy which has stuck with the Ministry of Education for so long, which we are calling the Accelerated Learning Program Policy. It's my hope since this issue was among the issues that were discussed during the fourth PLS summit in Wajir, this will be an avenue for the president to at least give these affirmations, to at least make sure the accelerated learning program policy is fast-tracked, more resources are given to our areas, issues that are very salient and very common to our areas are also addressed. You are aware the droughts here are very recurrent. Every now and then, people run away from these schools that are very peripheral and far away from the big centers. And you will see cases of children dropping out. You will see girls normally given more burden. There are those schools at the borderlines that are ghosted as a result of security issues. So I believe the president will be speaking to these issues, and he will talk more on how we can have more opportunities to at least make sure, as we embrace the CBE, the competency-based education is a very good educational framework. But then it requires resources, it requires infrastructure, it requires a lot of teaching learning materials, because we are putting a lot of energy on competencies and skills. For you to acquire these skills, we must have the laboratories, we must have the computer labs, and all these require resources.
Yes.
So I feel and I hope the president will speak to these issues and make sure at least these issues are given a lot of weight.
Well said. Well said. One final question before we go into another technical hitch. I'm just anyway. Let's go straight to one of the issues that Hassan has raised as far as the survey is concerned. He talked about exam malpractices. We're now transitioning. Actually, we are now in the process of getting into CBC completely, the competency-based curriculum. Do you think CBC, in a way, is going to solve those issues? And why do you think students have decided to cheat? And this is a question I'm raising to you because I know you've been a teacher before.
Thank you so much. I totally agree with you. Part of the reason why CBE now is coming into form is to make sure at least we run away from the knowledge-based education, where children were doing a lot of rote learning and memorization. And we have glorified one-off examinations. The KCPE, the KCC are becoming cutthroat. If children cannot perform in these examinations, it is like they become redundant and useless. As a result of those tasks, now children have no option to meet the parental expectations or the community expectations. They run to issues to do with cheating. The other issue which has become very important and is an emerging problem in our areas is the high level of lethargy, high level of indiscipline, high level of giving up among our children. If you look at the cases in the Form 4 children, learners who are in grade 8, or especially the candidates in Form 4, they desert schools as early as the second term. They will even leave the boarding schools, and you will see them renting rooms in the villages in the hope that they will be getting some materials to cheat. And thus, they are not prepared for examinations, and these are issues that are bringing these problems. The other issue is the general society decay. We have become eroded in terms of our moral upbringing. The value-based education, which have been emphasized, and that is one good thing with the CBE, it is skill and value-based. These are the issues that we require to be given a lot of weight and interest. And we need to shift from one-off examinations so that when a child is sick or when a child's moods are not good during examinations, and don't ask me, examination is a moment. If it is a KCP, it is just one moment. If it is KCC, it's one moment. If the child has issues, background issues like maybe being bereaved or other attitudinal problems, then you can see that will be used to judge that child for the coming years in his life. So that's why CBE is propagating more on continuous assessments. There are always assessments that are done continuously. It is putting more weight on competencies and skills, and this is the direction we should go. But then examination will not solve, or change of education framework will not be a solution to the problem. This problem is based on many issues which are systemic, society-related, and institutional oriented. So we need to look at the root causes. How can we really handle these issues in the society? Beginning with issues to do with these systemic changes. We need to at least make sure from the word go, we do not push children to perform exams only. We must be taking care of our children right from the word go, when they go to school. Be monitoring their school attendance. Look at and how they are handling their assignments and mentor them. And at times organize some sessions to sit with them so as to know their weak areas. Our guidance and counseling departments in our institutions are also failing, possibly because of lack of morale or because of parents not giving a lot of attention to this department, parents and even the school leadership. So it's also important to really revive this counseling and mentoring opportunities so that our children can get that. The other issue is the society in general. Where are our religious leaders? We know Islam propagates for honesty and integrity in examinations. It was a prophetic saying, he who cheats is not part of us. Where did that doctrine and prophetic saying go to? So it's the right time we need to revive these good practices that are with us. Remember Yusuf, 40 or 30 years ago, those who completed Wajir High School during the A-level times, the likes of Engineer Sharawe, the likes of Engineer Mumad, these people did not cheat exams, did not have enough books, but they were performing because the value systems were very rich and the society really glorified the student and the teacher. These are the issues we need to go back to and correct where the rain has really started beating us.
Well said, Mwalimu. Once a teacher, always a teacher. Thank you very much for those nuggets of wisdom. Thank you very much. Abdullahi, that was Abdullahi Maalim from FCDC. Before I come to you, Hassan, Dibilo, the Wajir Regional Education Summit is coming. It's coming to Wajir. We have Madaraka tomorrow. I don't know what magic Wajir is doing. Everybody wants to come here. So your expectation from the president's speech tomorrow on matters peace and education, because we've realized peace, development, education, they go hand in hand.
Thank you, Yusuf. I think we have a lot of expectations from the president. A lot have been said about infrastructure. We have talked about the airport. We have talked about roads and all that. I think our expectation is that the president maybe will give us one of the institutions. Maybe we expect him to elevate one of the institutions to a fully fledged university. That's the expectations we have, like Griftu Livestock Training Institute in Griftu, or maybe even support the initiative of Wajir Peace University by the trustees. Also, we have teachers training colleges which can be elevated to university status if given the opportunity. Because currently we have universities, satellite campuses here in Wajir which are working through other universities like Nuria College, we have Frontier, we have Northern, which have got aligned to other universities like Rongo, Garissa University and all that. So that's one of our expectations. As for the Peace University, I think our trust, the Peace University Trust is doing a lot of fundraising, and I think the president may chip in and also support that initiative, and maybe in collaboration with the trust, give them the necessary support through the Department of Education, so that we have the Wajir Peace University. I expect that our board, the trust of the Wajir Peace University might have had the opportunity to converse to the president and make that request.
Exactly. Do we have Abdi Osman and Nakonek? Production team, do you have Abdi Osman?
Yes.
Ah, finally, Abdi. Sorry, apologies. I think we were facing some technical hitches here and there, but Hassan insisted that we should have you on board. Number one, because this is a matter that is very close to your heart, and number two, because you represent a very important institution, Nakonek. So initially, we had in the initial stage when we were doing the introduction, we were making comparisons between the transition level from primary to high school in the rest of the republic, that is at 87% plus. If you look at Northeastern, the numbers don't look very good. So from Nakonek's point of view, what are some of the investments you're making to make sure that this gap at least is reduced?
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to, am I audible first of all?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, I really concur with the statistics that you have given at the beginning of this discussion. We are all aware that in terms of enrollment rate in this country, we are lagging behind than the rest of the country. The same is transitional rate. We are really lagging behind than the rest of the country. But in my view, I think we don't have a shortage of policies and strategies to address these problems. All that we need, in my humble view, is to bring together all the stakeholders, including development partners, county government, and national government, and even the communities, so that we discuss how can we address education problem collectively. How can we pool resources together so that we address some of the problems outrightly? I would like to tell you that as NACONEC, although there is, in most cases, a resource constraints, we really try our best to carry out interventions that address barriers to education. One major problem, which is barrier to access to education in the region, is hunger, especially during the drought. And that's why we have come up with a program called School Feeding Program. Likewise, we have nomadic lifestyle in northern Kenya, and that's why we advocate for a new system of school known as mobile school. As a government, we also have something called low-cost boarding school, which is meant for the children who cannot move together with the pastoralists from one place to, from one area to another. When we confronted the issue of climate change in our region, then now we are trying our best to come up with climate smart schools. The same applies to poor quality teaching, although nowadays we have a lot of teacher training colleges in northern Kenya, especially in northeastern province, Garissa, Mandera, and Wajir. But if in case we face poor quality teaching, then we have to develop ICT for the schools. We have to come up with a program called, in other words, ICT for the schools. Okay, we are also aware that we have problems of electricity in our schools. The electric is not actually available in some schools. So that's why we have come up with a project called solar projects for the schools. Okay, in addition to that, there is also lack of water in some schools, and that is why we have come up with a program called WASH program for the schools. All those interventions were really designed to address the issue of access to education. In other words, we are intending actually to raise the enrollment rate of our schools in the region. Okay, we have teacher shortage. We have actually very poor infrastructure. We also have a bursary problem in secondary schools. The communities themselves are not sensitized and they don't really understand the importance of education. And nowadays we are aware that the people in pastoral communities, they are talking about availability of employment after finishing the school. And they are saying that, you know, many children who actually completed secondary and primary schools, they are just stomaching in Wajir town and they are doing nothing.
Yeah.
And they are not securing a job from the government. So there is no need to go to school. Is a concept which is now spreading in our communities, especially in nomadic areas. So we have a lot of challenges. Another important issue is the issue of Duksi and Madrasa. Of course, all this big number of children that we are talking about, they are out of school. They are not in classes. Where are they? We are saying we know that some of them have already joined what? Duxi classes, especially at the early years of learning, maybe BB1 and BB2, while the government policy is when the child is 4 years or even 5 years, the child must be taken to school according to the government policy. But according to our community policy, silent policy, the child must go to where? To Duxi at the age of 4 to 5.
And I think that's why integration should come in, right?
Yeah, that is now why we are coming up with the concept of
Yes.
integration.
Yes.
I really concur with you. And NACONEC is really trying to develop
Yes.
the integration concept. First of all, we have to align Duxi and Madrasa
Exactly.
to formal education. Because
Thank you.
we know Islam is
Yes.
not against, I mean, education or let me say, common subjects like math, physics, and biology. All of them, they are very important in Muslim communities, and they are not against the teaching of Islam. So NACONEC is trying how can we harmonize these two types of education within the community so that we make sure that at the end of the day or at the end of the life, our children acquire both formal education and Islamic education.
Thank you. Thank you, Abdi, for those valuable inputs. You know, we have a difficult, we can't see you on video. So next time, let's try and have you physically in our studio, wherever it is. Thank you, Abdi, for that. Hassan, quick one. Tomorrow, the president is going to make his speech. Everybody is so eager. Personally, I've never been so eager before when it comes to national celebrations. Maybe this time because it's happening in northern Kenya. So as far as education is concerned, we know, given he'll talk about infrastructure, some of the development initiatives they've carried out, the national government has carried out in northern Kenya. Do you think education will feature somewhere in his remarks?
I believe education should feature somewhere in the president's remark. I really, first of all, want to appreciate that the theme of the Madaraka Day celebration this year is related to education. It's called education, skills, and the future. And I think that is, I want to believe that that is quite deliberate. And therefore, the president will talk about something regarding education. The Wajir Peace University that Abdi Blow here has talked about, I think, should be a beacon of pride for the region, which the president really should talk about, and not only talk about, but also contribute to its establishment and its functioning. But in addition to that, I believe there are challenges as well as opportunities that are around education that are unique to this particular region. The madrasa system and the integration of that particular system into the formal education, I think, is something unique, specifically to this region. And the policies around that, as well as giving impetus to those policies in terms of its implementation, I think the president should. I also expect the president should talk about that. NACONEC is an organization really that is doing a lot of work in this particular space. And I would also expect that the president would speak about the NACONEC in terms of its proper funding, in terms of its proper autonomy, and giving support to some of the programs that NACONEC is doing. I know the president has a soft spot for this region, and therefore we are hopeful that in addition to the goodies that have been talked about, infrastructure and whatnot, we also expect that the region will benefit from some of his education programs.
Hello, you expect some goodies, as Hassan says?
Yeah, we do expect. We do expect some goodies from the president as far as education is concerned, because specifically the theme of this Madaraka Day is something that's touching on education. So the president would be wise enough to talk about the plans that he has for this region as far as education is concerned. We have had numerous challenges in terms of infrastructure and all that. I think if I may go back to what we were discussing earlier, is that the CBE, the curriculum-based education, is a model that is borrowed heavily from the developed worlds. But infrastructure has not been put in this place, in this country, particularly in our regions, to achieve the desired results, because the objective of CBE is to nurture talents. In Europe, if at the young age they notice that this guy is going to be a media person, they start nurturing that person either as a writer or whatever. If somebody is good in debate, then they say, oh, this one is going to be a politician. They nurture that individual as a politician. If somebody is good in sports, they have academies for sports and all that. But in our area, I think that has not been achieved in terms of infrastructure. I think we just rushed through this. So we are not nurturing the required. And even the schools, the secondary schools have not been given the adequate space to prepare for absorption of that and prepare the necessary infrastructure for that. Yeah, basically.
Thank you very much, Abdi Bilo and Hassan. You have something else to say? I will be here again tomorrow for the blow-by-blow coverage of the Madaraka Day celebrations. We're going to do running commentary from as early as 6:30 a.m. But thank you very much, Bilo, for your input on Wajir Peace University and everything else, matters education, always resourceful. Thank you very much for your time. Hassan, amazing job at Horn Afrique. And we're looking forward to that education summit in Wajir. Abdullahi Ma'alim, all the way from Nairobi, FCDC, thank you very much for your input, as well as Abdi Osman from Nakonek. And as we wrap up, we'd like to pay tribute to the 16 students who lost their lives at Utumishi Academy in Gilgil. It was a very unfortunate incident, and it's something that parents don't need to go through as far as that tragedy is concerned. From our end here in Wajir, once again, we've been live from I Mall right here in Wajir town, where we are anticipating, actually we are on the eve of Madaraka Day celebration that is going to take place tomorrow morning. And just a reminder, we'll be live from the venue. We're also going to be live in our makeshift studio, giving you running commentary bit by bit on what is going to transpire for the rest of the day tomorrow. Until then, bye-bye for now. My name is Yusuf Ibrahim. And please stay with us.
Yusuf, can I make a finishing line?
Oh my goodness. Typical pastoralist. Aya, come in. Tupatia mwisho.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I apologize for coming in after you are through done. And you have really taken
You're an elder. You're allowed to have the parting shot. No problem.
Thank you. From the mood of the Kenyans, the president has to talk about the tragic fire incident that happened at Utumishi Academy, which is now spreading all over to other parts of the country. So as we bemoan them, as we mourn with those children and their parents and the rest of the country, we're also concerned about the safety of our schools, the emergency preparedness in terms of complying to the safety manuals that were made for these institutions. And we also want to talk about the student welfare. What is really causing this? What is really changing in our institutions? So we are very hopeful the president will talk and speak about this matter, and you did it on our behalf. We want to take this opportunity to convey our condolences with the parents, the family, and the entire Kenya of those children who lost their lives in a very cruel manner. And we hope the law will take its stand. Finally, the president today has hinted what we expect from him tomorrow. In Giriftu, he has given some support to Giriftu Primary School to at least establish a library. So the mood is good, more is anticipated, and I'm sure we will be more prepared for the CBE. And in August, when we come for the regional summit, ours will be full of celebrations and maybe talking of many other things. I will not wish to say a political statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abdullahi. Thank you very much, Abdullah Hassan. And that's where we wrap up. See you tomorrow from 6:30 a.m. right here on PNTV Africa. And this is where we tell our stories our way. Bye-bye for now.